What's up, everyone? Welcome to my channel. I am DJ, aka Token Black Guy. Got here for the first time. Hit that like button, subscribe button. So after all the Jonathan Majors domestic violence case and everything, and him being found guilty of not actual domestic violence, but more of a misdemeanor conviction, to where they're saying that he didn't intend, there was no intent to hurt her, just in his actions of trying to like get away, he hurt her. So basically, it was kind of reckless kind of thing. So, and I know they were still waiting for his sentencing, but he had lost his basically contract with Disney as Kang, and his career is kind of in shambles right now. But he gave his first interview to Good Morning America, and I'm just kind of curious to see what he has to say. I just want to put on a record, I don't condone domestic violence in any way, but I do feel people deserve to have their fairness in court and legal system, and not just be immediately crucified in the court of public opinion. And I do see a lot of where people are saying that he was convicted of domestic violence, which actually that's not the charge that he was convicted of. And I personally, being an outsider, I don't know him or his ex, whatever, personally, their relationship. I felt like they were both at fault. They both did things, and they both should be held accountable for their actions, which he has been, but obviously the other party hasn't been. But without further ado, let's hear what he has to say, given his first interview. It's been maybe 2 weeks now, 3 weeks since he was convicted. So surprised he's doing an interview this quick. I guess he's going to
now our ABC News exclusive with actor Jonathan Majors. Lindsay, you sat down with him.
Yeah, this is Majors' first interview since he was convicted of misdemeanor reckless assault and harassment. And there's really a lot to unpack here. He calls the 2-year relationship with Grace Jabari to unpack here. He calls the 2-year harassment. And there's really a since he was convicted of misdemeanor reckless assault and harassment. And there's really a lot to unpack here.
The harassment charge with it afterwards, all the calling and everything.
Dangerous and unhealthy, but he is adamant. He says there was absolutely no physical abuse.
I told you, time isn't what you think.
Less than a year ago, the name Jonathan Majors was followed by talk of critical and box office success, skyrocketing fame, even Oscar buzz.
I'm coming for everything.
This morning, a different conversation surrounds that marquee name.
Something about sitting here right now and looking at you and
he's all clean shaved now,
understanding the gravity of the situation. A situation that I, in many ways, put myself in.
The actor.
I mean, it sounds like he's taking accountability for what he did, his part in it. This from that thing.
He spoke exclusively with ABC News for the first time after being convicted in late December for harassment and misdemeanor reckless assault in the 3rd degree, which could carry a penalty of up to a year behind bars.
I don't think he's going to get jail time at all.
Talk now.
It'll probably be like probation or something like that.
A lot has happened.
Yeah. Understatement of the year. A lot had happened
in my personal life, in my career, in the culture. It's about responsibility and coming forward and being brave and giving my part of the story.
Your reaction to that verdict?
Shock.
I mean, yeah.
I was absolutely shocked, and afraid. And I'm standing there, and the verdict comes down. I say, how is that possible? Based off the evidence, based off the prosecution's evidence, let alone our evidence. How is that possible?
But after only hours of deliberation, a jury of his peers agreed with prosecutors that he.
I mean, I feel like the court of public opinion has to play a factor in that. From the stuff I saw, and I was in the courtroom, I just feel like it was I feel bad for him, because like he tried to get away from the situation, and in doing so, he unintentionally hurts her finger. So he gets charged for that, but you're trying to get out of the situation. That's the problem I have. That's what the charge is basically saying.
He did physically injure his then girlfriend Grace Jabari in an incident last March.
What happened exactly? Do you know?
No, I don't know. She's unconscious.
That 911 call from Majors came hours after an argument broke out with Jabari in the back seat of an SUV when Majors received a text from another woman saying, "Oh, how I wish to be kissing you." Jabari testified that when she grabbed the phone, Majors tried to get it back, fracturing her finger and giving her a cut behind her ear. She says inside the car, you hit her in the face, twist her arm behind her back, fracture her middle finger.
Yeah, that did not happen.
How did those injuries come about?
I wish to God I knew.
I mean,
that would give clarity. That would give me some type of peace about it.
But you're confident you didn't cause
I have no
them.
question.
Surveillance video shows Majors getting out of the car, followed by Jabari, whom he then puts back inside the vehicle. What happens next is what the defense remains focused on. Majors runs off, and Jabari chases after him.
If you watch those videos,
that's the video.
You saw a black man chasing a young.
I mean, he ain't lying.
Street, screaming and crying. That man is going to be shot and killed in the streets of New York City.
Majors.
I don't know about the whole shot and kill, but yeah, if the roles had been reversed, a whole different ball game right there. If I'm playing devil's advocate or I'm in the courtroom, whatever, I don't understand how she's unconscious in his hotel room or his apartment, whatever, hours after, and all that time frame in between. She was that injured. She's out partying, all that stuff, and then probably have a key, I don't know, but to be drunk and unconscious in his apartment afterwards, who's not saying that she got hurt in her drunken stupor or whatever? I know I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying I'm playing devil's advocate here. I mean, the trial's already over, so he's been found guilty.
Which he says show the injuries he received that night, which were deemed inadmissible in court. How were you injured?
My injuries were.
How are they deemed inadmissible in court?
I had a scratch on my hand, from clawing for the phone. And I had a gash on my, at the time I had a beard. Under my beard, I had
How is his injury not admissible in court? That makes no sense.
From pressure. And that bled overnight.
But prosecutors say Majors was the aggressor. District Attorney Alvin Bragg says the evidence presented throughout this trial illustrated a cycle of psychological and emotional abuse. In court, prosecutors pointed to a previous argument during which he knocked a candle to the floor.
I completely lost
a candle?
Lost my temper in that moment and threw it all on the ground. That's not something I would want my child to do, and I did that. That's not. And felt terrible about it.
The prosecution also played audio Jabari had recorded earlier in the relationship, where Majors encouraged her to act more like Coretta Scott King and Michelle Obama.
I mean, that did seem kind of weird.
A great man. I am doing great things, not just for me, but for my culture and for the world. That is actually the position I'm in. The woman that supports me needs to be a great woman.
There are some who question, especially in the black community, as you're probably well aware, that
saying that to a white woman.
Saying, why was he telling this woman to be like Coretta Scott King and Michelle Obama?
It was me trying to give an analogy of.
I mean, I kind of get what he's getting at. The delivery and that stuff kind of came off wrong. I mean, he wants a good woman to support him and stuff. I understand that. It seems weird the way he's saying it.
Of what it is I'm aspiring to be, these great men, Martin, President Obama, and trying to give a reference point to that. One of the things I also say is I need her, in that case, Grace, to make the same sacrifices that I am making.
In a statement to ABC News, an attorney for Jabari said in part, it is not at all surprising that Mr. Majors continues to take no accountability for his actions.
I think he is,
the timing of these new statements demonstrates a clear lack of remorse for his actions. Do you feel you're not responsible for her injuries at all?
I shouldn't have been in the car. I shouldn't have stepped out of the relationship. I shouldn't have been in the relationship. If I'm not in the car, None of this.
I mean, he's.
If I leave the relationship,
taking blame for his actions.
None of this is happening. If I'm man enough or brave enough to say, I want to see somebody else, or I'm done now.
I wonder if it was Megan Good that was texting him.
I'm not in that car. We're not here. I'm responsible for those things.
But none of her injuries.
I can't say that. None of her injuries.
Interesting. I mean, I kind of get some of his points. And obviously there's 3 sides to every story, his, hers, and the truth. So we may never know. I still feel like I don't understand why she's not being held accountable for some of her stuff. You know, I have no problem. He let's say he did, he say he broke his finger or whatever. He's been charged. He got found guilty of that. He's going to face a punishment for that. He's lost financial stuff, credibility, his career, his image has been ruined. That's the price he paid. But at the same time, you can't. I don't understand how his injuries were not dismissible in court. The fact that she came back to his hotel later on, none of that was factored in. I don't understand like that. Like, who's not saying that she hurt her finger in between all that? I'm not saying that happened. I'm saying that could be the case. I don't know how his defense was in there, because I just feel like they kind of let him down. But I hope he does better. Let's sit here and watch this. There's a part 2 of this where he talks about coming back for his career. Let me see if I can pull that up. Here's the part 2. He talks about coming back to Hollywood again.
Now to more of my exclusive interview with Jonathan Majors, the actor was convicted of misdemeanor reckless assault and harassment just as his career was taking off. Majors says he always intended to take the witness stand, but didn't in the end because he felt the prior testimony was so compelling that there was nothing else for him to add. But now that the jury has spoken, he felt... I
thought he didn't take the stand in his own defense? Oh, man. I would have got up there and said something to me, give my account of what happened. Excuse me, got hiccups. But yeah, I didn't know he didn't take a stand. That's crazy.
It was time to tell his story.
This has been very, very, very hard and very difficult and confusing in many ways.
Jonathan Majors breaking his silence just weeks after a Manhattan jury found him guilty of misdemeanor reckless assault and harassment of his ex-girlfriend Grace Jabari. The actor, at times, emotional.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, I would be too. My whole career and life has been turned upside down.
I haven't seen my daughter in a long time.
Is that his daughter with her? They got a kid together?
A lot of it has to do with this situation.
In a split verdict, Majors was found not guilty of 2 other misdemeanors.
They got a kid together,
assault with intent to cause physical injury and aggravated assault.
They're saying you didn't intend to injure her.
Right.
But the result of your recklessness injured her.
Right.
Were you reckless?
I was reckless with her heart.
Not with her body.
Not with her body.
The physical altercation started inside an
this part right here when he pushed her back. That's the part where I can see where they say, okay, that's where he was reckless. I will say that looks kind of reckless right there. Him putting her back in the car. Obviously, he's not intending to hurt her. He's trying to basically remove her from situation, but I can see where that might be the reckless part.
Received a suggestive text message from another woman. Hours later, after Majors placed a 911
all this
call,
right here.
Police found Jabari unconscious.
I mean, she's freaking unconscious in the hotel room, drinking and everything. Who's not saying she fell and broke her finger or that gash behind her ear fell from that? I'm just
floor
saying.
In their apartment, as seen in this body camera footage.
You feel that you did anything wrong on the night of March 25th? If you could
Thank God nothing worse happened to her. Like, she actually, overdosed or, died, and he came home to a dead body in the apartment trying to explain that one. Jesus Christ.
Live that night.
I wouldn't have picked her up. I wouldn't have picked her up.
I mean, could have, would have, should have. I mean, you never know.
To keep her in the car. I would have gotten out that car and ran immediately.
The two met back in 2021 on the set of Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Oh, they ain't even dating that long.
The prosecution has described your relationship with Grace Jabari as tumultuous and abusive. How would you describe that 2-year relationship?
Which way, though? Both ways or just one way?
Our relationship was not healthy, you know, and that began to reveal itself over time.
Why'd you stay?
I was scared.
People do. I don't know about scared. I think people do stuff when they're dumb in love. Everybody knows that one couple that, you know, is toxic.
With the red flags, I found that, and I use this word, I said, oh, this is dangerous. This is months before the incident. I should have been brave. I should have said, no, this isn't working, and I should have walked away.
I will say I'm not going to put all the blame on her for the relationship part. I feel like they both are just toxic towards each other. I'm pretty sure they got in arguments, stuff like that. So I'm not going to sit here and say he's Mr. Perfect, Mr. Innocent. I think they both were toxic towards each other. That's just my personal opinion. From what the vibe I'm getting.
Troubling signs in the relationship were revealed when prosecutors presented text messages where Majors expressed suicidal thoughts, saying, maybe I'm such a monster and horrible man that I don't deserve it and should just kill myself.
Were you suicidal?
The ideations of removing myself from situations permanently is a thought that I've had, since I was a kid, you know, since I was a young boy on the farm in Texas. You know, it's not there anymore. You know, I've done that. I'm doing the work to.
Personally experience myself. You know, being transparent. I've been there many times in my life. You know, so I can relate to that.
Keep it at bay and make sure it's not there anymore.
Through it all, Major's new girlfriend, actress Megan Good, has remained by his side, even present for our interview.
How would you describe your relationship?
She's an angel. She's held me down like...
Still gorgeous, by the way. God damn, she's so good.
Like a Coretta. You know?
No, God, don't you couldn't say that, man. I know you want to be this great man. You idolize King and Obama and all them, but just let it play out. You're trying to don't try to force it to be. Let it be natural. Like
to have her, you know, the relationship is.
Just let y'all be the next couple that people talk about.
Fresh, but you know, I think I found her.
The March 2023 incident thrust Major's dating history into the forefront.
That hasn't been a year. That's crazy.
Back in June detailed multiple allegations of abusive behavior dating back to Major's relationships in college. Allegations Majors vehemently denies. His attorneys offered past partners to defend him.
Have you ever had issues with domestic
I felt like those people are trying to get their 10 seconds of fame, whatever.
I've witnessed it.
The leeches, whatever.
Never participated, you know. I mean, I've been smacked up before, you know, but yeah, never exercised it. Those relationships went back to when I was, 21, 22 years old, and I just think,
yeah, that's crazy.
Was I a jerk? You know, was I, a mean guy? You know, and I go.
Yeah, I mean, if all of us go back 10, 15 years of, relationship, we're not the same person back then. I'll give them that one.
Knowing what I know now, like, severe depression, childhood trauma. I've had very few relationships, so I can gather what situations we're talking about. Yeah, I was not the best boyfriend all the time.
But never hit a woman?
Never hit a woman. My hands have never struck a woman, ever.
After gaining critical acclaim for films like The Last Black Man in San Francisco, Major's once red-hot career is now seemingly at a standstill.
How are you feeling?
Moments after the verdict, Marvel Studios dropped him. He was set to play the prominent character Kang in
This is what I want to find out about.
I am Kang!
But despite the possibility of serving time, Majors believes the script for his career is still being written.
I don't think his career is over.
Yeah, I do. I pray I do. But it's God's plan and God's timing.
For those who
I may think the Drake song when he
say,
said
look,
that.
he's convicted at this point. What would you say? I mean, do you deserve a second chance?
I think everybody does.
I think I do. I hope other people think that.
other people have done worse.
During closing arguments, Jonathan Majors' attorney said his worst fears as a black man calling 911 in America came true. Those words brought Majors to tears in court. He says race very much played a role in his arrest. He claims he was injured. He points to surveillance video where Grace Jabari pursued him, chasing him for blocks. She was arrested but never prosecuted. He calls that unjust. And we'll have much more tonight at 7 p.m. on ABC News Live Prime and on Thursday on Impact by Nightline.
Well, hey there, GMA.
That's the part I don't like. She was arrested, but not. I don't understand. Like, didn't she flee the country? I think they said too, or whatever, and like wasn't coming back at first. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing's a mess. Like, we've all seen this kind of relationship with people, it's toxic and everything. I do think it sucks that he's the one that called 911. If he had never called 911, would it all ever come out? Also, I just feel like they both need to be held accountable, for their actions. But that's just my personal opinion. Again, I don't condone domestic violence in any way, shape, or form, from whether it's a man towards a woman or a woman towards a man. I think you should be able to use your words and not hit people. So, but that's the interview. Hopefully his career bounces back. He learns from this. And I do believe I think he should get a second chance, whether it's a year from now, 5 years from now. I think he should get a second chance. It's just hard with, the court of public opinion. It's so hard. But with that said and done, leave your thoughts and comments down below. What do you think? Do you think the verdict was fair? Do you believe what he is saying? Do you think what Disney said was what Disney did was right by dropping him? But until next time, guys, I will see you when I see you. Peace.